Welcome to the Observability Podcast. Today we're joined by Sheenam Gupta, a product manager leader at Broadcom Software. With over 17 years of experience spanning telecommunications, infrastructure monitoring, and AI ops, Sheenam brings a unique perspective to how observability has evolved and where it is heading. At Broadcom, she has been instrumental in developing DX Operation Intelligence, a platform reshaping how enterprises approach observability and AI ops. We'll explore the journey, discuss some challenges, and get her true insights on the future of AI observability. Sheenam, welcome to the show.
All right. So, for those of you who don't know today, this is the first episode, of which I couldn't possibly be more excited of the Observability Podcast. My name's Tony Davis, and we're with ANI Solutions, but we got some real cool products on a Gen AI sort of tilt. And of course, the podcast is about observability. And then my partner here is Tim Higgins, good buddy of mine, great guitar player. So I should make it clear that this podcast is about three things. So if you take those concentric circles and put them together, the podcast's about three things, not equal. They've got different proportions. But number one, by and far, is music, right? So it's guitar. It could be mostly like Tim. He's heavily influenced by Van Halen or Gilmore or Pink Floyd, Zeppelin, all those things. But it could be things that are indie bands, right? We hope to have some good independent bands join the show a little bit later in the year. Interesting ones, maybe. But in each case, we're hoping to focus on the guitar riffs that are in that. And so you probably just heard that opening intro, that's The Strokes, a song called Hard to Explain, except it was played completely by our good buddy Tim here. So I hope you enjoyed that intro. Thank you, Tim. Beautiful. Tim, you want to introduce yourself before we get to our amazing guest?
So I'm the nerd. I'm Tim Higgins. Play guitar, write code, and that's about it. And go ahead, Tony. I'll let you introduce because I've known this lady for a long time.
Well, we think that we truly do. When we started this, we think there is an affinity between technologists, myself, Tim, Sheenam, our guest, and music. And so, we think that that's a big thing. And then the third circle, the thing that we're going to talk about is sports cars. So this show is about technology, Gen AI, observability. It's about music, and it's about sports cars.
So, Tony, I can help wrap that up from a musician's perspective. So, music is math is computers, and we all work hard and pretend like we can afford the rich cars, which we can't.
That's a good point.
There you go.
Everything is binary.
Exactly.
What he's alluding to is everything is binary.
Exactly.
Well, so without further ado from that, let's go to our amazing guest. So first off, let me set it up a little bit. I'm not trying to be like Jay Leno or whatever, but let me set it up a little bit. So I met Sheenam Gupta, who's here with us today. I met her many years ago, when we both worked for a company, Broadcom. Sheenam still works for that company. And when I met her, the first thing that stood out to me is that she's a genius when it comes to observability. And the reason that she's different from a lot of the folks that, I've worked with over the years is there is a big difference between domain observability, which is I understand the metrics that are coming out of the systems related to my network, right? That's a domain. And then somebody else will say, well, I understand the metrics that are coming out that are giving me observability from my application. So that's application domain, right? And then we could go on and on. You could pick other domains. But Sheenam was one of the first people I met that really understood from all domains. So how do you take multiple domains of performance information, and then how do you bring it up to a level that's not just it's not just metrics that are combined, it's metrics that have been distilled into something interesting. So Sheenam is, like I said, with Broadcom. She is a product management leader for the company in the space of observability. So for our very first episode, we thought that everybody who would watch this might be interested in hearing from somebody who has lived observability from 17 years now, and before it was ever even called observability from an IT perspective. Sheenam, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks for the great intro.
Tell us a little bit about you, because not everybody knows what you've been doing and where you started, like your journey. What's your journey been to get where you are now?
Yeah, my journey, if I go backwards, I've been with Broadcom, erstwhile CA, for now more than 7 years, and that's where the whole story. I mean, I had seen observability as a part of my uh, um, career's journey earlier as well, but I saw the gravity of it. I saw the importance of it, and it was incidentally the same time when digital transformation was becoming the buzzword. All the four, as we call them, the four popular consulting companies, they were all talking about nothing but digital observation, digital transformation, and how it is the thing for any enterprise to be successful. And so the journey has been great so far. I'm not the nerd that like Tim introduces himself to be, but I did get to see up close with a lot of customers from many other domains. I personally myself worked in the security domain, banking domain, telecom, and healthcare briefly in all the four domains, more on the application side. And I noticed that for any application to be successful, for any enterprise strategy to be successful, it's very important that the backends are running fine, the IT is running fine, right? So we've seen recently so many examples where the whole airline had to cancel their flights because their IT systems were not working. We've seen examples of financial institutions getting slapped with fines because their mobile application was not working. That's the gravity of observability in today's world. And that has been my journey, seeing it grow over the years to what it is today.
When I was meeting with you or talking, it was about 3 or 4 years ago, and I remember meeting you. We were at a conference or something in Tampa, and we talked a little bit about
Yeah.
observability. And at the time, you were working on a product that I loved at the time called OI, or Operational Intelligence. But
Yes.
then what I saw recently, about 6 months ago, it looks like, I don't know if it's a rebrand or what you guys are doing with it, but I did get a chance to play with something you guys are calling O2.
Correct.
And I've got a lot of questions about that. I think Tim does too. And there's some things that are pretty exciting about it. But what is the difference between what I remember as operational intelligence and what I saw as O2?
Yeah, that's a great question. A question that's close to a lot of us on the product management team. If you're going to have some of my fellow colleagues in the upcoming podcast, and so what we've seen, we at Broadcom, we are popular to have deeper relationships with our customers, and so a lot of our strategy comes from our customer engagements, what our customers are seeing and feeling in their enterprises. And one of the trends that we started noticing was that the domain specific observability, the lines are blurring there, right? So there's no longer application infrastructure network. They're consolidating. They're consolidating to application infrastructure is really not different from each other. They go hand in hand. Same with the network observability, right? One is incomplete without the other. And so what we decided was we have had decades of experience in these individual domain observability stacks. We have had market leading products in that stack. And so operational intelligence, as much as we still support the vendor agnostic AI ops there, it still has a robust integration framework where we can bring in non-Broadcom solutions. We realized that for our own Broadcom solutions, it's very important to provide the AI ops and insights and analytics baked in into these observability domains, right? So, what DX operational observability is a unified solution, is a unified product offering across application infrastructure monitoring, end user monitoring, and AI ops. It brings it together, eliminating the need for integrations, reducing the time to value, and helping the teams unlock the value of these individual stacks in a single in a single product, right? So it really leverages the strengths of each of these different stack monitoring that we had and combines it with the AI ops layer on top of it, while maintaining the vendor agnostic AI ops benefits and value that we were offering with operational intelligence, Tony. So I would really like you to see this as an evolution of our standalone offerings, of the standalone DXAPM, DX operational intelligence, etc., moving into a single product So our customers don't have to think about, oh, I will do this here, I'll do this here. They just get it all in a single product without having to, train their teams on multiple areas while maintaining the breadth and depth in observability as well as in AIOps.
Tim, is this what you showed me last week? Was this the O2 that you showed me? It had all of the different monitoring, or I was not all. It had many of the different monitoring domains that we work with built in. That's what that was, right?
Yes, that's
Okay.
exactly what it was. Yep. And I do have a question. So, in the older days, right, everything was separate. And one thing you hear from customers all the time is it's hard to get this team to work with that team. So if we bring it all to a single pane of glass, right, which is the dream, how are you finding customers are okay with that too? Because the network, everybody's big about pointing fingers. That's not my problem. That's networking. That's database, right? But if you bring it all to one, they have to work together too, right? Do you ever find that being cumbersome, or are they okay with that?
Yeah, that's a great question. Had you asked me this question 5 years back, my answer would have been yes, it's very cumbersome, right?
Yes.
But I think an evolution that has happened in the last 5 years, be it the pandemic or maybe the teams have matured, I don't know, but everybody understands that um, digital IT or IT in general sits at the center of the strategy today, right? Enterprise strategy. We're no longer talking about teams sitting in the basement, keeping things green while all the cool stuff happens on the first floors and the second floors, right? These teams have moved from the basement higher up in their organization, and that has played a critical role. That sense of responsibility, that sense of accountability towards the success of an enterprise can be seen in the IT teams these days. And along those lines, as much as we say this often, that we're not talking about ending silos. In fact, to some extent we feel that silos is good because it helps them go deeper into their areas, but we're talking about managing these silos. How can we help these teams manage the silos, help them collaborate, so it reduces the not me problem, right? Where did this issue occur? Not me, not me, and not me, unless somebody shows the facts, right? So it reduces the mean time to innocence, and moves the focus more to mean time to remediation or automating the mundane tasks, giving them the power to focus on innovation rather than long war rooms, right? Like I'll give you an example. Few years back, I visited as one of my first customers. I visited the NOC Center for Varun Banks in India in Pune, and they had a huge room. It was a hall. I will not call it a room. It was a hall with huge screens on one side of the wall, and there were teams sitting in that hall in 3 layers. And as soon as and it was very peaceful, and I said, wow, this is great. And the person who was giving me the round, the tour, he said, yeah, wait, I mean, you should visit us when there's an issue. Everybody is screaming at each other, everybody is pointing at each other, and everybody's asking, what happened, or when did this change go in, why didn't you tell me about this change, who approved this, etc., etc., right? I think we are moving away from that era to an era where teams want to collaborate while having some autonomy on their area, and that's what the operational observability gives them.
And you were working for a bank in Pune, India?
No, I visited them to sell them on ATM.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, because I was gonna say Tim and I, we have a good buddy of ours on the team. Her name's Pooja, and she lives in Pune, India. And Tim and I went over to visit with her just back in the summer.
Yeah, Mumbai, Pune in India are the financial districts of India. So you will see a lot of bankings, IT operations, and banks themselves over there.
Yeah, we Tim and I gave her and her friend Priyanka, we gave them all the grief in the world while we were there. They made us sing They had a big office over there. And they have 100 people, and they said, "Well," Tim and I were getting ready to leave to go to Hyderabad or someplace, and they said, "Well, we want the team to be able to say goodbye, all 100," which I thought was cool, right? So we walk out, and the place is full of 100 guys, all young folks, been coding all day long and everything, and then they hand Tim a guitar, and then they tell me to sing, and guess what I had to sing? Summer of '69, Bryan Adams. I mean, do I look like I could even do that? And I had to sing it, and then, we had to finish with that song, and they clapped. I think it was all fake, of course, and then we played some song. Yeah, it was some standard song in India that is like a song of celebration, and they taught us how to sing that, which I think we butchered it, of course, but, I'll never forget that trip to Pune, so when you said that, I was like, "Oh, are you from Pune? So that'd be pretty cool," but, well, I'll tell you what I wanna say back on point, is you said something that made me laugh so hard inside. You said, "Well, I don't think silos are that bad," you know? And I remember and what I love about that is that you're shifting, like, a complete industry thought. Because I remember I worked for, like, a Fortune 100 and ran, part of their IT operations division, and we had an entire year devoted to breaking down the silos of IT. It was the entire year was devoted to breaking down the silos, and now Sheenam comes on the show, and she says, "I like silos. I think that each silo it gives you an opportunity to go deep and look at stuff at a deep level. We just wanna manage it from above." So, I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, and also I think some people, so where it becomes a challenge in a siloed environment, Tony, is where teams have to follow painful processes to get access to each other's data, right? So for example, if there's a capacity planner, he or she will need access to the infrastructure data, let's say. And it becomes painful when they have to put in these tickets, these long tickets every 90 days to get their access running. Or if there's an SRE who needs to see how was this issue resolved when this issue happened last time, and he or she now has to put in a ticket to get access to that kind of data, right? So really it's when over the years what I've realized is when people talk about we need to break down the silos, they're really talking about data democratization, but they're not talking about making everybody an expert in every area. So we need to respect that expertise and have a solution that can help them break down the data silos, not really the expertise silos.
Mhm. I think it's a refreshing idea, Tim. What do you think?
Yeah,
Pretty
no,
cool, huh?
I was just saying, yeah, it's really cool, really cool. It breaks down the old days where it's like, oh, it's the database team, leave me out. That's not the case, right? We
Yeah,
always say in application, if your front end's having problems, it's always because of the back end. There's something going on in the back end.
exactly.
And
And
too
if
many
there's
people are saying,
mainframe,
it's not mine. Oh, if it's mainframe, just forget it. Just
poor
walk
guys,
away.
they're always the first ones to get the blame.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're the black box, right? So, yeah, they're gonna be blamed, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheenam, I always have thought of you as sort of a visionary in this field, so when you look forward, and it doesn't have to be Broadcom specific in the work you're doing, I'd just love to hear about what you think where we're at right now. What do you see the future of what has been called observability? What do you see it evolving into, let's say, we'll give it 2 years because things are moving so fast. So let's say in 2 years from now, what do you think we'll be looking at from an observability standpoint if we're in an IT operations team?
That's a heavy question. Um, I'll break it into, you know, um, some of the myths that I've been hearing, maybe the top three ones, right? I often hear that everything will be modernized and will be all, all the legacy technologies will be gone, etc. I don't see that happening. Because yeah, exactly. And it's like that popular joke on LinkedIn that we have all the clouds and containers on the top in a stack, and then at the bottom there's a thin Postgres layer where all the business logic still exists, which is and it is pulling in from a physical server or a physical database, right? It's really like that. So I think one of the things that I foresee is we will need to balance these legacy technologies and legacy processes which have a lot of business information, business intel collected over the years in terms of rules and etc. We'll have to find a balance between that and the modern, right? So I'm not saying modern is not good. It's not good. It's great. The kind of flexibility that it provides, the kind of agility that it provides to the enterprises is awesome, right? But then the legacy will stay for some more time, and I don't know how much time it would be, but there has to be a balance there, and that's what the observability tools have to make sure they're providing. It's a journey for our customers, and we have to go with them on that journey, right? And that's what you will see in our DX operational observability. We are not saying we are only for modern. We're not saying we're only for legacy. We're for both, and we provide the glue between the two very nicely through all the workflows, right? The second thing that I've often heard is machine learning and the beautiful stuff that machine learning can do, and these days Gen AI, right? I believe machine learning, as people are getting more mature about their expectations from machine learning, if you give it garbage data, it will give you garbage results out, right? So the data quality plays a great role in it, and then rather than seeing it as a magic wand, we should see it as assisting in doing making our processes much more faster. Can it help us in faster triage? Can it help us in faster remediation? But we should not forget that in a lot of areas, the remediation, where it is about restarting a router, changing the configurations, we have to take care of the role-based access control. We have to make sure that it's the right persona doing it with the right role. We can't give that power to everybody. And that's where I'm saying that to a large extent, machine learning and Gen AI will be assisting us to do our observability use cases faster, more efficient, and more repeatable, right? So resources can be optimized, people can be optimized. I hate to call people as resources. I meant resources by the software resources and people. We can optimize both of them to do more um, in the same amount of time that they're doing, and more importantly, focus on their core business rather than worrying about do I have the right level of monitoring, etc. or not, right? And then lastly, and you will find this as another theme in our product, by the way. And then lastly, like I was saying earlier, um, the one evolution that I've been seeing is we don't need insights as a separate thing. We cannot talk about insights as a standalone thing. It has to come in baked in into the observability, right? I think for the other vendors as well, when I see vendors who are saying, yeah, we will give you insights for everything that you integrate, that integration can be painful. And so having native insights into the observability layer is where we're moving. Um, and I think this is something that customers are not realizing, but we as vendors are definitely realizing. And this is one area where we have more work to be done as an industry. And as a vendor, I'm I'm hoping we are leading that path with some of our other peer vendors, of course.
Well, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but that's interesting that you said that you should have native insights in the platform. So not to put you on the spot, but can you give like an example of what a native insight might be? That a like if we had your observability platform and you were able to give us some form of a native insight, what an example of that be?
Yeah, that's a good question. So one of the example, a very simple example would be a question that I've been hearing, and Tony, you were with me when I heard this question the first time, was you're telling me everything that I can monitor or I can add observability to with my tool. Can you tell me what I'm not monitoring and I should monitor, right? Can you tell me what I was monitoring up until last week and it's critical for the success of my ID strategy and now I'm not monitoring it? That would be an insight. Another insight, another native insight, I think, which goes into something close to what you guys are also trying to build with your product, would be I have I have different aspects of the same environment which is resulting into this business impact for me. right? And I could be monitoring those different aspects on the same entity. I'm using entity as a loose term, but I could be monitoring different aspects on the same entity using different tools, using multiple different tools, which could be our tools, which could be third party tools, doesn't matter. But an insight would be a very low hanging one would be, can I see all of it in a single view in my triage views? Not just alarms, not just metrics, not just logs, not just topology, all of it. Can I see all of it? And can you tell me amongst all of these, where is the problem?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Those are the kind of native insights that I'm talking about, which I think um, are not explicitly asked for from a customer, but we can feel that if these were available to them, their workflows, their standard operating procedures can drastically improve and get streamlined.
If that, that everything you said was amazing about the insights, but the one thing that I think I'm going to remember about what you just said is the thing that I've felt the same way and I didn't know how to express it, but you just did. Sometimes you can just feel inside that this is information that an IT team would need, even if they don't know to ask you for it. You know in your gut because you've worked in this field for so long that this is valuable. So it's cool that you said it that way. Tim, what'd you think?
Yeah, actually, I think it's kind of cool. One thing, and you know me, I've been doing consulting for a long time. Uh, Customers usually laugh because the last thing I would say is, "There something I didn't ask that I should have asked?" And that's
Yeah.
a hint that I don't know, right? And it's
Yeah.
almost kind of like the same thing. There's something there I should get, but I don't know I need to get it.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I like
Well,
that.
we not to do a shameless plug, but since Sheena brought it up, right?
You
I
know,
mean, she brought it up, not us. Not to do a shameless plug, but one reason that I really was excited to have Sheenam on here today is because their product. Now, I was more familiar with OI, operational intelligence, and now I'm seeing O2, right? But the one thing that has stood out to us, Tim and I work on a project for A&I where we're gathering metrics from different sources, right? And then what we do is we don't try to just like aggregate them and re-aggregate. That's not what we're doing. We apply a formula and we actually give a score. It's a standardized score that can be used across different types of software, right? So if you're wanting to know the reliability score of your banking application, at the same time you want to know the reliability score of your service desk, right? Well, we normalize them and put them as on equal footing, and that way you have a relative indicator. And so we score it, and then we put generative AI on top to ask business questions. And the reason that Sheenam, I thought, was going to be so important to the first show was because Tim and I have done a little research over the past, what do you say, Tim, 6, 8 months or something. We've been working we we've done a little research, and the OI product for us, the OI product has been amazing to harvest the things that we need to create that score. All right. So we actually, Sheenam has a customer in New York City. He said it'd be fine if I said his name and his company. His name's Dan. He's going to be a guest on the show, I think, next month. And he works for Cody Cosmetics. Well, uh, he's long worked with Sheenam on like building up their OI or all their tools, whatever their tools are, right? But he also, has invested in our tool for the Gen AI business analysis on top, and he has a large implementation with Sheenam in this OIO2 product, right? And we found that for the things we need to create that score that Tim and I use to create that score, we found we were able to get almost 90% of it from that tool. So that's a big deal for us, right? Because on our side, we don't have to have a lot of different integrations. So in Cody Cosmetics, we're actually going just to that OI product to get 90% of what we need. So anyways, I'm excited about that. So Sheenam, that was sort of my ulterior motive was to get you on here. And, of course, I know you're gonna love to see Dan on the podcast in a month or 2, right?
Yeah, Dan has been an amazing early adopter. He's our technology champion. He's our champion on many other things. So yeah, I'm sure he's giving it a try, and he really likes to see the new stuff working in his environment. right? He is, and he's a leader in that thought process. Like give me what you have, and if it's giving value, I'm sure I'll promote it, right? So yeah, it's a great first customer to start with, Tony.
Yeah, he's an amazing guy. He's a technologist like we are, right? Been around doing this for many, 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 many years.
Yeah.
Has an incredible love for music. Deadhead. He's a Deadhead. He's a Grateful Dead fan. He raises the most beautiful herd of goats you will ever see. And he's going to bring some pictures and show a little bit of his goat herd. And they're really cute. So I'm a big wildlife fan. So it'll be fun. Well, that's not really wildlife, is it? But I like goats, right?
It could be.
So,
I mean,
yeah, they live in the woods. They're wild. So anyways, he's going to be fun to have on the show. Sheenam, I know you're looking forward to that, and that's a little plug for the next one. But we wanted to make sure that every show we end with something that's truly important and sort of earth shattering in a way, and get the input from our special guest on something truly important. And there's a couple of things today. The first one is Deserted Island. So Sheenam, we want you to tell us, you are now going to be stranded. God forbid. You are now going to be stranded for the rest of your life on a deserted island.
Okay.
On that deserted island, you've been afforded the ability to bring 3 things, and 3 things only, to give you comfort for the rest of your time on that island. Now, it could be food, it could be a book, it could be anything, but you only get 3.
can't be a helicopter.
And it can't be ways of escape. No, don't try to pull that on us.
I was
Everybody's
thinking more
tried
like a
that.
boat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
boat
yeah,
be
everybody tries that kind of thing. No, I want you to think about comfort. So you're gonna live on this island, and you get to take 3 things for comfort. What would they be? You can have a minute,
Yeah.
since we're talking about the rest of your life, So you get a minute to think about it. Yeah.
Okay. Since we're talking about the comfort, my first choice will be definitely food, right? Maybe the food that I can grow myself as well, because I don't know how long I'm going to be stranded, if people are going to come out looking out for me or not. Or they'll be happy. Ah, finally.
What kind of food?
What kind of food? Well, I'm a vegetarian, and I love eating my rice and my pulses and my vegetables. So that's what I would bring in. Maybe some fruits, easier to grow than vegetables.
What about a curry sauce for that, rice and vegetables?
I can cook it myself.
You'll do your own curry. Okay. Probably coconut, right? On a deserted island.
Coconut, yeah.
Okay, so now we know one of the 3 is your comfort food, which is gonna be rice and vegetables with a
Yeah.
nice homemade curry sauce
Curry,
from the
yep,
coconuts. Okay.
yep.
Alright.
That's going to be one.
That's one.
The second is going to be my mobile phone with internet connection.
Yeah, comfort, right?
Because
I'm a little
yeah, I mean, where
okay, it's first episode, and you're a special guest, so we're gonna let that pass. But from
yeah.
now on, Tim, from now on, no internet connectivity, none of that
Come
stuff, okay?
on. If somebody says food, I mean, where will they face while eating that food? They have to watch something.
Beach, the beach. Okay, we'll give you okay. You can have
With
smartphone
excellent
with
coverage,
internet,
right?
but you cannot call for help. No.
Yeah. So a
Okay.
smartphone. And then third, yeah, I would definitely get either a book or an instrument, maybe, that I can use
Instrument.
to keep my mind off.
Whoa, time out though, time out. But you've got internet.
Yeah, but internet is, you
I'm
cannot keep
kidding, I'm
watching
kidding.
internet all the time.
No, I'm joking, I'm joking.
What instrument do you play?
I'm an amateur. I mean, I've learned it myself, but I do play guitar, bass guitar, and piano.
Nice.
Whoa.
Yes.
So do you picture yourself sitting on the beach with a bass guitar, or do you picture yourself with somebody dropped a grand piano on the beach and you're like, what's his face? Andreas Bocelli, and you're on the beach, Is that which one?
I think guitar
Your
will do.
guitar. Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, she just said that because of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You said there are three circles in this show, right? I have to touch one circle at least.
There you go.
Actually, for our very first guest, those were some beautiful choices. Some really good comfort food, right? A smartphone so she can be like a teenager these days and just look at her phone all day. And
Yeah.
then a
Not all
grand
day.
piano or a bass on the beach. That's memorable. We'll record this. Okay, so the final thing for the show today, another thing of major importance, really. Tim and I, we have no sponsors, and we need sponsors because neither one of us can eat because of the cost of this podcast. So we're
Uh-oh.
searching for sponsors, and we talked, and we decided that between us, the two sponsors that we want for the channel is Maserati and Ferrari. So we've reached out to their social media and told them about the podcast, and I'm not sure they're ever going to read it, but we want them as sponsors because this is the first and the only podcast to weekly or monthly, whatever we record, feature a Ferrari versus Maserati death match. So let's get ready, folks. It's time. So the rules of the game are simple, and it's the final piece of the show. Sheenam, it's Friday. I'm not going to tell where Sheenam lives because she'll have fans running outside of her house and everything, but she lives in California. Right? So everybody knows what California's like, beautiful weather, everybody looks like Barbie doll or whatever you want. So Sheenam lives out there. So I'll best put it to you this way, Sheenam. It's Friday night, perfect weather, and you want to go out cruising and feel really young, like you're 18, right? And you want to go out there and just cruise the strip or whatever in your car. So I'm going to show you a picture. Now, there's nothing on these pictures that show the brand of the two cars that have entered a death match. And
Okay.
what you're going to do is you're going to pick which one you really feel would make you, like you said, you're a feel person. You can just feel when something's right. So I want you to say which one makes you feel like, yeah, Friday nights in California,
Okay.
I'll be the baddest woman on the street tonight. Okay, so I'm going to share.
Well, there's already a cheat, and I'll tell you later.
I'm not a car person.
Okay, don't think about it that way. Now, can you see the screen sheet?
I can see the screen.
Okay, both of these cars are from a similar era because I didn't want to compete, like a brand new car versus an old one. So these are from a similar era. One is by Ferrari and one is by Maserati. But remember, that's not the important part. The important part is it's Friday night.
Yeah.
Which of the two does one strike you that I'm going to be bad to the bone tonight in this car?
I will pick the blue one.
Okay, so let's go ahead and look at the answers.
Your expression tells me I've picked a Ferrari.
Well, I was going to say the cheat is he's got a picture of Maserati behind his head. So
Behind his head.
Yeah, I know. Well, it's
No.
subliminal. It's subliminal. So this is obviously no disrespect to the great company of Ferrari. We all love. Many of us grew up with the concept that there were no other cars from Italy except a Ferrari. But that's not true. There are wonderful other cars over there. But today, the winner is the gorgeous, and the blue is beautiful. That's probably where I messed up. Why did I not pick orange or something? But
I was actually thinking, does it have to be those colors? Could we do
Yeah.
red and
Yeah,
black?
well, I'm just scraping these off the internet. Yeah, but I wanted side, and I didn't want it to show any emblems. So our lovely first guest, a woman that I truly respect, has chosen in the first death match ever. Hello, Ferrari. Hello, Maserati. First death match ever. And she has picked the Ferrari Mondial over the luxurious, fast, blisteringly fast, legendary, sometimes worshipped
Oh my God.
Maserati
Sorry I
Bois.
hurt your feelings, Toad.
And I was going to say, he's going to cry now.
problem.
We got to
Yeah,
end the
you made me
show.
cry.
It's no problem. Yes, but here's where the show ends, right here. No, it's Mondial was a beautiful car. And of course, over each podcast, what I'm going to do is introduce a little bit more complexity, to the car models and so forth. But the death match, we're going to, over the next, 10 to 20 years, we're going to keep a tally on, what the number is. I'm confident that at the end, right? At the end, this is going to be obviously a Maserati blowout, but each week to week, we get something interesting where Sheenam picks something that she sees herself in. Before we end, can you tell me, is there anything specific about that car? Why that one you think is the one? Because you went quick.
I told you I'm a Ferrari fan, and since you talked about California, if you're doing any road trips in California, you will see more Ferraris than Maserati. But for me, I think the luxury that it shows with the two, I mean, both of them are two seaters, but
Hmm.
I just like the model. I just like the look of it.
Got it.
It looks really classic. Yeah.
It is classic. And I do like that you pointed out that in California, the Ferrari, you see a lot more of them, right?
Yeah.
Makes them very common, right?
Yeah.
Um, they're very common. They see them everywhere, right? I know the
Yes.
Maserati is extremely rare,
Yeah.
No, most people don't care about things that are rare, but yeah, no, I appreciate
He's really
I
going
Sheenam.
to
think he's
cry at
hurt.
him. Yeah, he's really going to cry at him.
I'll, s- I'll stop. I'll stop. I'll stop. We all knew that it was going to come to this. Even Tim told me, "Are you sure you really want to do this, man?" So, but anyways, we'll stick with it as long as I can. You know, need sponsors. Hashtag need sponsors. Hashtag would prefer. Hashtag Maserati and Ferrari.
So what's gonna be funny is at the end of the show, Maserati's not gonna sponsor us, but Ferrari
But
will.
Ferrari will.
Oh, man. Well, Sheenam, there's no way to thank you enough. I know when we first started talking about this podcast, Tim and I, and we said, well, we'd like to get somebody, really special for the first show. And we both said, man, get Sheenam over here. She's like awesome on this stuff. And, yeah. So thank you very much, Sheenam. I mean it. And your friends, all our friends, we've all known everybody for a long time over at Broadcom. And I think you're right. We've heard about a couple other folks on the observability team for Broadcom that may be joining the podcast in the future to share their thoughts and visions,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thank you for having me. Like you said, Tony, I've known now both of you for years. More for you, Tony, and the partnership has been great. I really like the fact that when it comes to some serious business with observability, you guys have the skills, the catch up on the technology, be it the new ones or the existing ones, whatever it is. And yeah, thank you for having me here. Thank you for talking about DX operational observability. We are super excited about it. We launched the on-premise version earlier this week, and yeah, and so that really does our first phase of launch for DX operational observability. It marks it complete. So we have a SaaS and an on-prem version, and I know ANI Solutions has been working with us hand in hand with our SaaS versions, and same for on-premise. And I look forward to continuing this collaboration. So thank you for having me, and I absolutely enjoyed this podcast. I think the questions were good. I think we had a lot of fun, and yeah, you said in next 10 20 years we'll keep account of Ferrari and Maserati, and I hope you do run this podcast for 10 20 years.
I'm not worried. I feel confident in the outcome, but it's fine
Yeah.
to have little bumps on the road. But you mentioned collaboration. Yeah, you mentioned collaboration. So this is exciting to end the show. Every week or month when we do our podcast, the intro, as I said, is very special, very important to me. It's that the strokes, and it's hard to explain. And Tim played that and laid down that riff, and that'll be our intro each week. But we're excited because every week our outro to finish the show, Tim is going to play a few licks from one of his classic collections. And Tim, you told me earlier, which one is it this time that we're going to go do the outro? I forget.
It's a takeoff of Shine On You Crazy Diamond. That's not Shine On Crazy Diamond. It's a takeoff of it.
A takeoff. Okay, very cool. So today, to end the
Nice.
show, let us all look forward to hearing next on the outro and the credits. Man, on credits roll on things like this. But anyways, regardless, we're going to be listening to the great Tim Higgins with a version of Shine On You Crazy Diamond. Thanks, everybody. See you next month.